front page of the Irish Times talking about the recovery in this country. 2 consecutive quarters of growth in the third and fourth quarters, the first time in 2008. And that's why I want to begin my discussion with the Irish Prime Minister, Taoiseach Enda Kelly. Thank you so much for speaking to us. That's a welcome headline, isn't it? Is the recovery firmly entrenched?
Well, the headline is very welcome. This administration was elected just 2 years ago. And we inherited a situation where 250,000 jobs had been lost in the private sector in the 3 years prior to that, where we had neither credibility nor integrity internationally, where our banking system was out of control, and where our debt was completely unsustainable. So we set out with a very clear strategy to deal with those issues, and this is all part of a plan that we have to get our deficit down to below 3% by 2015. But essentially to make decisions at government that impact on the way we do business in the country in respect of our relations with our European colleagues and the wider world. But it's all about creating jobs, growth and stability, both here at home, and to translate those principles into acceptance and reality at a European level now that Ireland holds the presidency. So this is a welcome headline. It's a welcome fact, but we have a set of enormous challenges up ahead of us. And so while there's a lull at the moment in the consternation that overtook Europe for a number of years, there is absolutely no room for complacency and no time to waste in dealing with these problems.
You've negotiated the exchange on the promissory notes. The suggestion in the local media here in the last few days is perhaps you'll use some of the leeway given on that to cut back on the austerity. Is that the plan now?
Well, the promissory note was a welcome agreement, with the unanimous noting by the ECB of the working of the arrangement between Ireland's Central Bank and the ECB. The impact is that will require 20 billion less to be borrowed over the next 10 years. And that's been reflected in international market sentiment, indeed by some of the rating agencies looking slightly differently at Ireland, but also a continuation of a very strong line of interest in investment in here from abroad. Now we're only 6-7 weeks into the new year, so it's much too early to reflect on the budget for 2014. Government obviously has its strategy and its plan, and we want to follow that plan. Because the 2-pack has now been agreed at a European level, that will mean that budgets will take place a little earlier for 2014 than applied last year. So government in its own time will reflect on what it is that we have to do for 2014 to continue with our plan, to continue with strong investment, job creation, and effective change of the way we've gone about this. We have restructured our banks. Discussions have taken place and been concluded between management and trade unions with a Labour Relations Commission document about public pay talks, and that's a matter that's now being discussed and will be voted upon by unions. But these are signals that are important about Ireland being serious about its business, about Ireland having a trust and a belief in itself, and indeed as a demonstration of people working with government, that you can actually follow a clear strategy to restore prosperity, put order on your public finances, and the most fundamental thing of all, to create jobs and opportunities for our people. Unemployment in Ireland is much too high, and that's reflected in the decision of the European Council to put 6 billion available for youth unemployment, which is a European phenomenon that has to be dealt with, and it can only be dealt with by strong, clear and decisive political action.
Can I ask, we've got a Eurogroup on Monday. Are you expecting to get any kind of decision on the extension for the EFSF loans?
Well, there's a working group that was set up by the under Ireland's presidency, with the Irish Minister for Finance chairing that, and the extension that was given to Greece is the subject of a motion that was put by the Portuguese along with Ireland, and there is a working group considering that at the moment. I can't prejudice the outcome of where that would be, but it would be another step in the right direction were that to be approved. But it's too early to say that yet.
But it's only fair if you do get it.
Well, it is a matter that's being discussed. We always considered that because Ireland had to borrow 64 billion, and the tools and the mechanisms that are available now were not available then. So we consider that the level of debt imposed on our people was unfair. In that sense, the promissory note agreement was very important. But it's also important now that the decision of the 29th of June last year to break, as they call it, the vicious circle between sovereign and bank debt be broken and that the decision of the 29th of June actually be implemented.
Are you frustrated? Are you frustrated with the progress on the banking union?
Well, I'm frustrated with lots of things that we don't actually have any time to waste here. But of course, when you sit around the table with 27 other leaders, or 17 from the Eurozone, there are always very strong differences of opinion. And this is a case of being able to demonstrate that you're serious about your business, but that also there's a level of trust and truth and belief both between leaders and between governments, because it won't work otherwise. And in that sense, the situation in Ireland can be a model for others to follow, but it's very challenging both for people and for government to exit a bailout programme which has been of enormous challenge to our people here. And yet, being pragmatic about this, these problems have to be sorted out, and they can only be sorted out by strong, determined political decisions that are in people's interests. So it's all about the end of the day.
Would that be the message for Italy at this point then, that they need to do this? Because arguably you've been through the process, they have to do the same.
Well, certainty is very important in politics, and certainty is very important in international relations, and certainty is very important for international finances. Now, I'm not going to comment upon the decision made by the Italian people, and it is a matter now for the leaders of the various political parties in Italy to reflect on the decision made by the people and provide them with a government. And I hope that they do that. We have had this in this country over the years, but it's very important that there be a clear strategy, a clear plan, and that it be followed so that people can see the timeline and the signposts being achieved. Like your headline in the Irish Times, while it's welcome, it's a very small part of a very challenging plan, and we have no time to waste, and there should be no complacency at all about the scale of where we are. I might say that as presidency, one of the issues that we recognise is the importance of lifting economies in a positive way, and that's why the international trade agreements being followed now by the Irish presidency will be important. And one of those is clearly the impact of the potential of free trade between the US and the European Union. Now, I spoke to President Obama about this after I congratulated him upon being re-elected as president. Now, the European Commission, I expect, will make an early decision about giving the Irish presidency a mandate to talk to the United States about this, and there is a mechanism and a procedure to be followed in the States. But I would hope that in the course of the Irish presidency, that mandate and that platform can be arranged so that those discussions can take place. In time, it would result in 2 to 3 million extra jobs and the capacity to lift the GDP of Europe and indeed the States by about 2%.